Hey Ken, great to see you again. How you doing?
Well, Devin, it's always great to be with you. Life's a very special occasion when you're with good people.
Yes, indeed. I'm just grateful that you're back with us for a third time on the live cast. I know it has been a challenging year, and there's a lot of people right now that can stand to be around great people. And so, thank you for taking time to be here again today.
Well, my pleasure.
Awesome. So, I know we spoke a little bit before we went live on here, and there's a lot of things happening in the world. It's been a very challenging year and season with COVID, and we lost, there's so much that was lost in 2020. I think every single one of us knows someone that's no longer with us due to COVID. There was lives and livelihoods and different situations and challenges due to that. There was obviously the social turmoil, the political turmoil, so much that people right now are kind of feeling, where do we go from here? And so, if there's something that I've learned from you over the years, it has been how to continue to press forward in love and truth and in unity and with purpose and with grit. And I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but I was reminded of your book, Full Steam Ahead. I picked it up off my shelf a few months ago when we were through all of this and felt we needed to revisit that today. So, if you would share kind of where your heart and your mind are right now in this season of time and what you feel people need to hear for us to be able to move forward in 2021 with the purpose that we're created for.
Well, Devin, I always really feel that people need to learn from the past. And so I ask a lot of people, what's the silver lining that might have come out of this whole like, pandemic and the whole COVID thing? And I think one of the silver linings is that families have got a chance to spend more time together. Now, in some cases, it caused them to break apart, but in many cases, it just created an opportunity for people, parents, to really get to know their kids and the kids to get to know them and all. And so you just got to look always for where are the silver linings, because if you focus on just went wrong, we got to pray and feel badly for those who have had losses and all, and wrap our arms around them when we see them. But you need to learn from the past, but not live there. And then you need to plan for the future, Devin. But I don't think you should live there. What you need to do is the precious present. And I remember when I first met Spencer Johnson, who was my co-author and the Woman and Manager, he had come out with a book called The Precious Present, about a little kid who saw this old guy who was very happy. And he said, how can somebody be happy like you? And the old man says, what you need to do is find the precious present, And so the kid went off and he's looking for this present and all this. And finally, after a while, he realizes that the precious present is right now. And I think that's really true. And how do you move forward? And in terms of full steam ahead, it really said that you want to go full steam ahead in your organization or personally. You really have to have a compelling vision, because vision tells you, where you want to go, who you want to be, what's going to drive your behavior and all, and it gives you some sense of direction. But without vision, then what are you going to do? You're just kind of reacting and all. And so we've all been praying for today in Washington that we can get a peaceful transition and all, and it seems to have gone well so far and all. But what's been the problem in Washington? We don't have a vision for our country anymore, because there's three parts of a vision. One is, first of all, your purpose, which is what business are you in? I don't think we know what business we're in anymore. The second is the picture of the future. If you do a really good job, what will happen? Where are we trying to go? And then the final one is what's going to guide your behavior, what are your values? And one of the sad things I've seen, Devin, is I don't think we have agreement on values anymore in this country. For example, I would think freedom of speech was a value, but if I disagree with some interest group, they wouldn't say, Ken, we disagree, let's talk. They would probably surround our business and try to put us out of business. And so we need to really get back and determine what is our vision, what business are we in, what are we trying to accomplish, and where are we kind of going. And I hope that that's one of the agendas that can go on as we move forward. And that's the same way with you as a person, because before you can work on a vision for your organization, what's your vision? What business are you in? And so my mission statement is I want to be a loving teacher, an example of simple truths that helps myself and others to awaken to the presence of God in our lives and to realize that we're here to serve and not be served. Now, that's my mission statement. It doesn't have to be yours. You have to decide essentially who you want to be in the world. And then when it comes to a picture of the future, is I wrote my own obituary. And some people think that's a little morbid, but I got the idea really from Fred Smith, who wrote a classic book called You and Your Network, and he actually made a video for his own funeral. And so not only did I write my own obituary, but I have made a video for my own funeral that I need to remake because that was about 10, 15 years ago. But it'd be really interesting for you to think about that. And what's that Billy Graham quote that you were sharing with me? Share that, because I think that's a wonderful one about death and all that kind of thing.
He said, there will come a day when you hear that Billy Graham has died. Don't you believe a word of it. I've only changed addresses.
And, it really is and I felt that way. People said, have you been afraid because of the COVID? No, I said, because if I die, I'm going to go to heaven, and that's going to be a pretty good deal. I'm kind of excited to see what it's all about and all. But if I stay here, there's things that I can do and all. And, one of the things I ask people all the time, Davin, would you like to make the world a better place for your having been here? And I said, raise your hands. And people they all raise their hands and all. And then I'll say to them, what's your plan? How do you intend to do that? And I get blank looks and hardly anybody puts their hand up. And my response to that is that you can make the world a better place by the moment-to-moment decisions you make as you interact with other human beings. And I'll never forget Richard Bowles, who wrote What Color Is Your Parachute, talked about this. And he said that you can make the world a better place by these moment-to-moment decisions that you make. Suppose you leave the house in the morning and somebody yells at you. You have a choice. You can yell back at them, or you can go back into the house and give them a hug and wish them a good day. You're driving to work and you get cut off by somebody. You got a choice. You can chase after them so you can give them the finger, or you can, send them a prayer and all. My screen has gone blank, so I can't see you and all. So where are we?
You could just keep talking. I can see you. So you're still recording.
Yeah.
But maybe as they work on that, I want to kind of elaborate on some of the amazing things that you just shared, because I think we listen to, podcasts and live casts like this, and we read books and take leadership courses about having a clear purpose and having a clear vision and, your mission and making the world a better place. And then what is your plan, which are all these things that you kind of just talked about there. And I love the visual of writing your own obituary and saying, okay, when it's all been said and done, what is the impact that I would have wanted to have on this world? What was the reason for being here, and how are people better off because I had lived? I think what is challenging for so many people in this season of time, especially those listening to this right now, are probably saying, Davin, Ken, that sounds great, but this is a different season. You don't understand. I've lost, my spouse or my parents, or, I just barely survived COVID, or I've lost my job or my livelihood. And, just because it's a new year, I think we all felt that we couldn't wait for 21. And I don't want to dismiss 2020, because there was a lot of good things that did come out of 2020, despite all of the tragic loss and turmoil and everything that, we've read about and seen and experienced. There are still some very positive things that happened in 2020 that we could all celebrate on an individual level. And I think that even on a bigger scale, in terms of how, innovations and pivots and things that were made for organizations and people who did contribute and try to make the world a better place. But there's a lot of people right now that are saying, this all sounds great, but I'm stuck. I don't have a vision for the future. My vision is gone. My sense of purpose is gone. My mission is gone. I don't know if the world's going to shut down tomorrow, if we're going to go back into a lockdown. I don't know if my business is going to survive a month from now. I don't know how I'm going to make ends meet. There's just so much uncertainty that for them to find the strength and the energy to have a vision, to have a plan, to move forward with a sense of purpose is fleeting in this moment of time. How do we move forward for those people that feel like that?
Well, first of all, there's no doubt about it. You need to mourn some of the things that have happened and impacted you, but you can't live there. I wrote a book with Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. He was 86 years old. And he always said the positive thinkers get positive results. And if you keep on focusing on the negative, you know what? You're going to get more negative. Negative attracts negative, and positive brings positive. And so how can you put a bookmark there and say, okay, that was tough. I lost a spouse. I did that. What am I going to do forward? Am I just going to be somebody that people are not going to want to hang around because all I'm doing is moaning and groaning and all that? Or am I going to be somebody they say, God, isn't she or he amazing how they've been able to move forward and pick up and realize that life is a very special occasion because of that. And so it's a choice. Life is so much about choice. It's a choice of your attitude and what you focus on. And so all I can say is that if you keep on focusing on the things that happened wrong, you're not going to dig yourself out of it, and you're going to stay there. I think you need to move on and learn from that. But what can I do now? And that's why it might even be a good time to rethink, okay, given all that's happened, going forward, what business am I going to be in? What do I want to be known for and all? And then what do I want my obituary to be? You want your obituary to say, Joe Blow or Alice is gone, and they're hopefully in a better place so they don't have to complain so much, it'll be a really great funeral service. But, what would you like your story to be, And then the third aspect of a compelling vision is what are your values? How do you want to live your life? And I have, 5 values that I put in. The first one is spiritual peace, so I try to enter my day slowly and make sure that I realize that I'm a child of God, and God didn't make any junk, and he's probably got something in mind for me no matter what's happened. And the second is integrity. My father, who retired as an admiral in the Navy, said, Ken, when all is said and done, people want to know is, can they count on your word? If you say you're going to do something, can you do it? And then my third value is love. And it's because I always have said love is the answer. What is the question? How do you reach out? And then finally, my last value is joy. And I remember I mentioned Fred Smith earlier, and one of the things that he said is that real joy in life is when you get in the act of forgetfulness about yourself. And so I have a little dog that we named Joy. She's a golden doodle, but she's black. And because dogs really, God made dogs, dogs spell God backwards, and why? Because a dog, uh, you know, doesn't care about the past because that was yesterday. They aren't looking for the future. They're into right now, what's happening. And so if I get home and I was going to be home at 3, but I don't get home till 4, Joy doesn't come to the door and say, "You're an hour late." No, she goes, it wants to hug and kiss me and also joy to me is staying in the present and realize that real joy is getting in the act of forgetfulness about yourself and being there to serve and reach out to others.
That is so, so good. It reminds me of one of the most powerful books that I've read, which is just a really short, 40-page read by Timothy Keller, The Freedom of Self-Forgetfulness. And, he outlines in that book, and he explains exactly what you just said, which is if we live in the moment and if we forget about ourselves in the moment and just focus on how we can contribute to every moment, regardless of our past failures or successes. Like you said, don't live there. We're not defined by what happened in the past, and we're not even defined by what could happen in the future. We're defined by the choices we make in the here and the now. And the reality is, ultimately, we're defined by who God made us to be. And so our identity doesn't go up and down like a stock market based off of our wins or losses or, our failures or our successes. Our identity, our value, our purpose is fixed and it's immeasurable. But what we can contribute to the moment is a choice. And so the challenge is choosing love in every moment. The challenge is choosing joy in every moment. And that's why values are so important. I think so many times people approach writing things like purpose statements, mission statements, vision statements, and values as a thing that we have to have, right? Well, I need to come up with values. And so it's like, let's come up with 5 values because someone said I have to have values, and let's decide what those are. And then I need to live by them. I think it's the opposite of that. I think you need to look within yourself and say, what are the things that at the end of the day, when it's all been said and done, are truly valuable, right? Did I love well?
Mm-hmm.
Did I approach every moment that I could within the present with a sense of joy, like the dog greeting you at the door? Did I serve others? What are the things that when you say, here's what I want my life to have stood for, here's the words that I want people to have said about me, those at the end of the day are your values. And my favorite quote of yours over and over and again is, love is the answer. What is the question? I think you could look at any moment in time. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it was when COVID first entered the scene, whether it was the social turmoil in June, the political turmoil this past fall and this past season. If you insert love into any circumstance, into any challenge, it always makes it better. There's never a time where you insert love and things don't improve.
That's
If you
right.
insert joy into any situation, there's never a time you insert joy and it doesn't improve. So the question begs, why don't we try to live those things out in every moment in the present as much as we possibly can?
Yes. And one of the things that's so important is to live like that is, what are your habits? And one of the things when I worked with Norman Vincent Peale, we were argued that we have 2 selves, Devin, and I think I've shared this with you before, but we have an external task-oriented self that's used to doing things done. Then we have a thoughtful, reflective self. Now, which of those 2 selves wakes up quicker in the morning? The alarm clock goes off, and what a terrible term, alarm. I mean, John Ortberg says, why isn't it the possibility clock? Or it's going to be a great day. But it goes off and boom, you jump into your task-oriented self and you're trying to eat while you're dressing, and then you jump in your car and you're on the phone and all, and you're at work and you're doing this, and all this kind of thing. And you get home and you fall into bed and don't have any energy even to say goodnight to anybody who might be lying against you. And then you get up the next day. And a lot of people have been caught in a rat race. And one of the positive silver linings of the COVID is it's been hard to get caught in a rat race because you can't leap out of bed and take off, you know. You leap out of bed and you're in your house. You leave, and then you're in your house, and then, and then you're with your family, and so I think it slowed us down. But what we need to do is wake up our thoughtful, reflective self. And so one of the things I like to do in the morning is sit quietly and think about my mission statement, even read my obituary, my values, and all, and have some silent time and solitude and some prayer and all as I enter my day. But the big goal, as I want to say, as I think of my day and what's planned, how do I want to be today in relation to who I said I am, and go out with that. And now you have a plan for the day. You haven't just raced out there. And then a friend of mine said, Blanchard, you've goofed up my life for a long time, because I never did a journal, because some people do it in 3 or 4 colors and they do poetry and all. But he said, I finally decided how to do a journal, and I started. It's pretty powerful. You have a journal and you write the date on it. At the end of the day, you write praisings. What did you do today that's consistent with who you wanted to be today? And pat yourself in the back, and then redirections. What did you do today that you'd like to have an instant replay and redo? Because who is it that said you need a plan in life? A life without vision and a plan is not worth doing. I forget, there's a quote about that, but it's really kind of entering your day slowly and then going and doing it, and then see how did you do.
I love the bookends of the emphasis on entering the day and how intentionally you enter the day, and then what you just said there about the end of the day. It reminds me of a conversation I had with a friend of mine, Steve Lowitz, about 1.5 years ago. He's another author and speaker, and has partnered with us on some things at Purpose Point. And I had said, I can't find a planner that I love. There's a lot of different planners out there, right? There's the focus planner. There's all these different planners, and there's a lot of great planners out there. So they're all great out there. I said, but there's one thing missing in all of these planners, and they're all great about how to approach the day, and there's great inspirational quotes in them, and to-do lists and tasks, and of course the calendars and all that. But the big aha that I had in 2016 when I left my corporate career and jumped into Purpose Point and into writing and speaking and all of those things was, I remember laying down one night and looking at my wife Amy in the eyes and just being very troubled. And this was before I took the great leap, as it said. I said, I can't remember the last time I put my head on my pillow and reflected back on my day and said, what difference did I make today? Who is better off because I jumped out of bed and into my day? And it was very, very disturbing because I couldn't remember the last time that I had thought about that. And I remember saying to Steve, wouldn't it be great if there was a planner where we approach the planner at the end of the day as intentionally as we approach it in the beginning of the day, and we actually reflect and either praise what happened in that day, or even if it was just writing one name. I said, there just needs to be one spot where it says, name one person who was better off because you lived today, and how they were better off. And there's not a planner out there that I found that's done that. Steve said, you should create that planner. And I'm like, well, maybe I will, but I just haven't had the time to create a planner that does that. But that's such a powerful statement, is even in the midst of all the turmoil, even in the midst of maybe even not even having clarity around your purpose, your vision, your mission, your values, what a simple thought to just say at the end of the day, before I put my head on my pillow, let me just take out a notepad and be thankful for one thing today. What's something that I could praise today? And is there one person whose name or face comes to mind that I could write down that's better off because I lived today? And here's how I contributed today.
Yeah. Well, it'd be kind of fun to maybe work on a planner like that, where you could plan your day around your mission statement and all that kind of thing, and all. And then at the end of the day, because I think it's both of them are really important. Not to have a plan is going to be, you're going to just be out there, whimming a whistle. But not having a way to analyze, one of the things that old buddy of mine, Rick Tate, has said for years, feedback is the breakfast of champions, and we need to have a mechanism where we can give ourselves feedback. How well have we done in that, and so, in terms of your organization, do you need a vision? Absolutely. As you know, Devin, I talk a lot about servant leadership. And when I first introduce that to people, they think I'm talking about the inmates running the prison or trying to please everybody, but they don't realize that there's two aspects of servant leadership. And the first one is vision, direction, values and goals, and that's the responsibility of the hierarchy. Doesn't mean you don't involve people in it, but it's your job to make sure that people know, what business you're in, what your picture of the future is, what your values, and then what your goals are. And that's one of the things that we need in this country, because without vision and direction and all, leadership doesn't occur and all. And that's the leadership part of servant leadership. And once that's done, now you end up turning the pyramid upside down, and now you're working for the people. And you imagine if Biden really got it, and I got this paper, I wrote about it, and I got some people trying to get it to him about a leadership vision for America, which starts with, we need values again. I mean, a vision again. We don't have a vision for this country anymore, and goes through the whole thing, ending up with servant leadership. But if we really were clear and we could get agreement between the houses and between the parties and all, what our vision is, and then we could turn it upside down and say, okay, how are we going to implement this? We might disagree on how we're going to implement it, but we need that. Without vision and direction, there's no leadership. It's chaos, and so people ask me, well, can you name organizations that do this? Well, sure. Southwest Airlines. I wrote a book with Colleen Barrett, the president there. We ask anybody there, what business they're in the customer service business. They happen to fly airplanes, and their picture of the future is they want every American to be able to be with a friend and a relative in a happy time and a sad time. And then their values start with safety, and then, they want you to, be able to have a lot of energy to accomplish things, and then a servant heart, and then fun-loving attitude, which was Herb Keller, the founder's attitude, and you look at that, and you look at Disney, what they are. They're in the happiness business. And what's the picture of the future? Everybody leaving the park will be telling their friends who they're going to bring the next time, and what are their values again? Safety, and then courtesy, then the show, and then efficiency. Everybody knows that. And so you just need it. Without vision, there is no leadership, and it's chaos.
That is so powerful, Ken. And the imagery, I got chills as you were talking about the country, because I thought, what a simple concept. And it applies organizationally, and it applies individually. When you think about America and the things that give us, pride and joy of what this country, stands for. You think of things like, land of the free, home of the brave. And so it's like, well, what does the country stand for? The idea of America was this idea of fighting for freedom, and, the bravery of the people who are willing to give their lives for that freedom, because what it represented. So in essence, you could almost say that, the values of America in the beginning were freedom and bravery, based off of kind of that statement. But there was clarity around that. What brought the country together, the reason that America exists, is there was this unification, there was this vision of this land of freedom, and this alignment of what everybody wanted. And more importantly, what that could do for the world, because that wasn't a widely, accepted concept in the world at this time, this idea of a free, autonomous country. And so the idea of, well, we could create this country, and we're willing to die for this vision. But here's the impact that could have on the lives of those who live here, but then the impact that this country could have on the world. And you think about all the impact that America in general has had on the world, from almost everything that's really been created. And I don't mean this for us to sound, like we're better than any other country or any other background or whatever, but you think about, the invention of the car and the computer and the internet and the phone and electricity. And I mean, it's like almost everything that the world enjoys today came from some sort of invention over the last century or so, that was out of this ideology that was once this United States of America, around a
Yeah.
united set of values and a vision of
Yeah.
who we can be. And we've lost that.
That's
And a
right.
lot of,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And I got a chance to talk to the National Policy Council a year and a half or so ago, and there were mainly all the Christian Republicans, And I started off by saying, "Where is Jesus here?"
Mm,
And then I said, "Here you are in a pissing contest with your other party, and what you need to do is establish a vision, because what does it say in the Bible? People without vision, what happens? You all know the Bible, and they all shouted out, they perish. They're uncontrolled. And so if you could come up with a draft of a vision, then go to the Democrats and say, here's our best shot. Why don't you see what you can do, and then come together in agreement on one, then boy, we would really be in so much different say. We can't sort of say we're going to come together. We got to come together around a vision. We just can't come together around coming together."
That's right. What will future generations say about this moment in time in this generation? What will we would have stand for? What impact will we have on the world? What will our contribution be? And I think that is the same question that organizations need to ask themselves. And it's the same question that if we're going to move forward full steam ahead, if we're going to move forward with our purpose and get up one more time than we've been knocked down as individuals in this season of time, again, what is it that we are going to contribute? What is it we're going to be known for? How are we ultimately going to make the world a better place? And if we all focused on that, if we as a country were unified, regardless of what side, how is America going to make the world a better place? If each organization within the, was saying, how are we as an organization going to make the world a better place? If we as individuals and as leaders, how are we going to make the world a better place? If the focus is off of ourselves, off of our agendas, off of what we want to gain, and we're focused on our contribution, the purpose that we serve, and how we are going to improve the lives of others around us for centuries to come, that changes the whole conversation.
Sure.
That's why vision is so important.
Yes, no, that's true. And, we need to get this conversation in as many people's hands as we possibly can, because, this isn't about you and I. This is about the big picture of how we individually, but all of us can make a difference in the world. And, full steam ahead is a fun way.
Classic.
And but we can only go full steam ahead if we first know about where we're going.
That's right. That's right. And knowing where we're going and what we want to contribute has everything to do with loving well, as you always say, taking our eyes off of ourselves and focusing them on others. I constantly say that the greatest measure of purpose is who we help others become. And that really is the ultimate role of a leader is what are we leading others to? What's the vision we're leading to? And who are we helping them become in the process?
Right.
And I just want to take a moment, and every opportunity that I can, since this is our third time together on here, and just thank you for the vision that you have just led so well in the call to action to love others and love others well, and to lead others as Jesus does, just as your book Lead Like Jesus says, and to serve others through your concept of servant leadership. If we take these things and not just talk about them, if we actually live them out, if we love well, if we serve others well, if we lead others well, we really have an opportunity to turn this entire ship around. That is not just our country, but life right now. Sure. And I'm just grateful for how much you have contributed over the decades through all of your works, through our time together, who you've helped shape me and so many others who are listening to this, how you've shaped them. Thank you just for continuing to embody all of these things that we've talked about.
Well, I want to thank you too, because it's you younger folks, I just celebrated recently the 60th anniversary of my 21st birthday. But for you to have this whole organization around purpose, I think is so important, and your voice out there to take the message. And so I'm just pleased that it's going to keep on keeping on through people like you and Patrick Lencioni and, Brene Brown and Simon Sinek and folks like that. And I'm just so proud to be a part of that. But I want to cheer you all on because you're going to have the energy going forward. So bless you, Davin, and all the work you're doing.
I so very much appreciate that, Ken, and such great thought leaders and authors that you mentioned there. And I remember, you had sent me a message because I'd shared and recognized those individuals in the gratitude section of my book, and you had sent me a message, and you said, "Wow, all of these people, I don't want to be mentioned above them. I'm just be grateful to be mentioned with them." And it's just the heart again that you've just continued to focus on not being better than others, but just contributing. And I think that if there's something we all need to do, it's asking how we're contributing to the season of time. I'm just grateful to be able to contribute like they have, like you have. It's always an honor and a privilege to spend time with you. If there's one last thing that you want to say to those listening today, just one final word of encouragement to a call to action for where we go from here, what would it be?
Well, my final thought, of course, would be what we've kind of said is that life is really a special occasion. But when all is said and done, what is it about? It's about relationships, and it's the difference that you've made with your family, with your neighbors, with your community, in your work and all. It's all about relationships and making a difference in other people's lives. It's not about you. It's about the people you're serving. And if you remember that, you're going to make a difference out there as you go around and interact with other human beings on a day-to-day basis, in a moment-to-moment basis.
So good. Ken, thank you so much, as always, for your time, for your heart, for your leadership, for your contribution to each of us. So grateful for you. I can't wait to see you again. Look forward to hopefully being together at the Purpose Summit in May in some capacity. And until then, I'm looking forward to doing all that we can to help others live these things out well and realize the fullness of the purpose that they were created for, to make that difference. So grateful for you, my friend.
Same. Good to be with you. God bless.
God bless you, brother.